Call to order the meeting of Fitchburg Board of Public Works for June 3rd, held in the council chambers, Francis Huntley Cooper Council Chambers. Tonight we have a full quorum from my right to left, Dave Wilborn, Alder Jetzer, myself, Ken Lobdell, and Don Gutowski. We have everyone here. Public appearances for non-agenda items, I do not believe we have any. So that would take me to agenda item 3 alpha, approval of minutes. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes?
I so move we approve the minutes.
Second.
Second, okay. Moved in second. Questions, corrections, additions, changes? Seeing none? All right. I'll call the vote. All in favor of approval of the minutes signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The minutes are approved. Next, we have the report from the Director of Public Works, Mr. Tim Volker, P.E.
I'll start with our 2024 street resurfacing project. Roman, Grandview, Seminole, and Wayland Road are all complete surfaced. We just have shouldering and striping remaining on those streets. Country Vineyard subdivision has been bindered and partly surfaced. The weather delayed us on Saturday from completely resurfacing that neighborhood. And then McGaw and Dahmers are anticipated to be paved this week or next week as long as the weather holds out. And then curb and gutter in the urban area has been complete for this project. We're anticipated to start pavement removal in the urban area of the city next week starting June 10th. And then our 2024 street maintenance contract, that's our crack filling and chip seal. The contract award is on tonight's agenda for that project. And then our 2024 sidewalk replacement project, we're looking to have that advertised this month. Fitch-Rona Road, Goose Lake Stormwater Project. We have 2 agenda items on tonight's agenda. The intergovernmental agreement with the town of Verona is one agenda item, and then it's the engineering services contract is the second agenda item for that project. Our library chiller project, we're looking to have a punch list walkthrough scheduled for Monday, June 10th, 2024. And the chiller has been up and operating since the end of April. We haven't had any issues with that. Our well 12, which is Stoner Prairie well, we're looking to have that bid opened this month. And then lastly, our Greenway Cross Storm Sewer Project, we're looking to be substantially complete by this month for that project. With that, does anyone have any questions?
Questions for Tim?
I have one, Tim. I see you started the pavement marking and the different crosswalk markings.
Where specifically
were you? I see you started that in the city. So is again, I think you said it's on the list to do, is the fish hatchery, cross hatching next to the bike bed trail between Sherrill and Glacier or whatever that is?
I'd have to check because the striping from last year's resurfacing project was not completed because of the weather. So that I know the contractor mobilized the last couple weeks for 2023's project to restripe the roads that were resurfaced last year. So do you have a specific location?
It's the pathway between Sherrill to Glacier. The trail kind of takes a turn to the left, and the pathway is right tight to Fish Hatchery. There's no separation except for where the pavement marking was.
Okay.
It was a crosshatch.
I'll make that should have been included in last year's project. I'll just have that double checked with Ross to make sure that's on the list.
Okay. Thank you.
Anyone else? Tim, has the wet weather, is that delayed you on the Greenway Cross stormwater? You know, it's a low spot. Is that delayed your getting that done?
Yeah, the weather obviously has impacted a little bit, but you know we were fortunate to start early enough that to still have it wrapped up this month.
Okay. And the second question with the with the wind, I realize a lot of trees went down. Did we have any damage to city facilities or equipment with that storm?
No damage to existing city facilities that I'm aware of. We have had trees down that were taken care of. There are a couple trees too that were very close to private property that were kind of, surveying to figure out if they're privately to be handled or the city to handle.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes, Bill.
Tim, regarding the library chiller, what's the warranty on that work, and when did or does the warranty period start?
The warranty period will start when we accept the project, so we haven't accepted it yet, and the warranty should be for 14 months from the date of acceptance.
Okay.
Any other questions? Thank you, Tim.
You're welcome.
Move on to our agenda items, and first we have 5A, Resolution R124, amendment to the final assessment amounts for the 2023 sidewalk replacement. Do we have a motion to approve?
I'll move approval of Resolution R124.
Moved by Alder Jetser. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Don. I thought we were done. Was this that modification, that small change that the one resident came in?
No, this was a different resident, so it was a clerical error on the 2023 sidewalk assessment report. It wasn't caught until the resident received the bill. And, obviously any adjustments to the approved assessment amounts need to be approved by council, so it's coming back through. And what happened, Note 3 was missed when we were transcribing the field notes onto Exhibit A. So the parcel received a bill for 50% of the cost when the 100% of the cost should have been borne by the city. So this is just adjusting that amount to have the city pay for 100% of the sidewalk replacement. So I believe it's all $687.22, and the reason city is paying for the cost is the tree within the terrace, the roots were the cause of the repair for the sidewalk.
Yep, I believe I know the spot. Okay. All right. Any questions on this?
Did you go through the rest of it, just to make sure we're not doing this every other month, or any other clerical errors? Did someone go through and just double check?
Yeah, we did double check, and no additional clerical errors.
Thank you, Tim. We're certainly Alder Jetser and I are very aware of clerical errors and the discomfort it can cause some residents. So thank you for having a good eye on it. Okay.
So did the resident catch this, or did we catch it when we?
Resident did when they received the bill.
Okay.
Any other questions? Call the vote. All in favor of Resolution R124 signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. 5 Bravo, Resolution R10424, approving TPP Amendment Number 2 related to reconstruction of Sain Road, Phase 3, West Clayton Road to north of McCoy Road. Do we have a motion to approve?
Approve.
Moved by Don.
10424.
Moved by Don. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Bill.
I am abstaining from
Thank you.
discussion on this item.
Thank you. I thought you might. Okay. All right. Tim, why don't you run us through here?
So the 2023 capital improvement program included funds to reconstruct Sain Road Phase 3 from West Clayton Road to north of McCoy Road. City Council approved Resolution 149-21, selecting the cross-section that included 2 travel lanes, 2 buffered bike lanes, and the existing multi-use path. City of Fitchburg has determined that it's necessary for public purpose to reconstruct Sain Road Phase 3 with the approved cross-sectional elements. The City Council adopted Resolution R-185-23, approving the relocation order and transportation project plat. And then the City Council adopted Resolution R-51-24 approving Amendment Number 1 to the TPP, changing utility number 106 to 107. And then the TPP needs to be revised currently to remove an incorrectly shown Madison Metropolitan Sewerage District easement. This easement's outside the project limits, so the easement's being removed from the TPP. So we're looking for approval to remove this easement shown since it's located north of the project limits, and we're looking for authorization for the mayor to sign the revised TPP.
A lot of moving parts. Okay. Is there a financial implication for this?
No financial implication.
Music to my ears. Okay. Any other questions?
So this is kind of in the same genre as that previous one. It's just something that was in the drawing that shouldn't have been, right?
Correct.
And the drawing that's in the packet, this is the new drawing, or?
That is the new drawing with the easement not shown since it's outside the project limits.
Okay.
It's located further to the north.
Any other questions? Or Bill, did you want that up on the board or up on the screen?
No, that's
No.
fine.
Okay. All right. Seeing none, we'll call the vote. All in favor of resolution R-104-24 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Note that Kim abstains. The motion carries. Next, we have 5 Charlie, resolution R-111-24, conditionally approving a holding tank permit for 2224 County Highway MM. We have a motion to approve.
Motion to approve R-111-24.
Second.
Moved by Don, second by Alder Jetser. The existing renewal of a permit, I'm assuming here, I think. New one. A new one, okay. All right, what would drive this, Tim?
So this holding tank permit is at the address of 2224 County Highway MM's septic tank. Has failed and soil conditions are not suitable for a replacement system. So the 2224 County Highway MM has submitted a permit application for installation of a holding tank. City ordinance prohibits holding tanks for new construction and for any building built after September 24th, 1980. A holding tank may be approved to service structures in existence prior to September 24th, 1980 if a conventional system cannot be installed due to soil conditions. There are no records of construction in the building department files on this property after 1979. So Public Works recommends approval of the holding tank permit application for 2224 County Highway MM, subject to 3 conditions. The first condition is this 2224 County Highway MM may not be subdivided unless the holding tank permitted through this approval is abandoned per Dane County Department of Health and Wisconsin Department of Safety and Professional Service requirements, and the property is connected to municipal sanitary sewer or a conventional sanitary system is installed. The second condition is no renovations nor additions may be approved for uses at this address that would increase the amount of sanitary sewage currently generated on this property. And lastly, a recorded copy of the holding tank agreement shall be submitted to the city prior to installation of the holding tank. So we're looking for approval of the holding tank application for 2224 County Highway MM subject to the above 3 conditions.
So I take it the mound system will not work on this location.
Correct.
Questions?
Yeah, just out of curiosity, how old is the existing system and how long do they typically last and what would cause it to fail? I hope you can hear me over the rain.
So what caused it to fail is the tank itself collapsed. As far as how long they last, it's dependent on the use and, how if they maintain it throughout its life, you can get 10, 15 years maybe out of it, longer. And then the first question.
Yeah, so I guess I was wondering how long this one's been out there.
I don't believe I have that on file because typically it's permitted by the health department.
Okay.
Tim, are they required to remove the old system so they don't try to hook up to it?
It'll be properly abandoned, probably in place, either filled with dirt or collapsed in place.
So there's no way to hook up to the old drain?
No, it'll be disconnected and connected to the new holding tank.
Tim, I saw the conditions. Is there any, do they have to supply any documentation, of getting the tank emptied or anything like that?
As far as the contract and the maintenance, we keep that on file, but as far as it getting emptied, that would be the health department monitoring that.
Okay.
There is an alarm that is placed within the holding tank that once it reaches that level, the alarm goes off.
Any other questions on this?
And this was just a failure with this particular existing system. The neighbors are in no danger. There was an existing tank. This was not a mound system. And there's nothing inherent in the soil that might, cause the neighbor's system to fail or anything like that.
Correct.
Okay, good.
So they're not going to have a drain field to connect to this at all either?
Nope, just a 3,000 gallon tank to hold it. And then once it reaches the level, it'll be pumped out.
If I was them, I'd want to get rid of that old tank, get it out of there. For instance, filling it.
Any other questions?
In the application from Excavator, who's doing it for them, I noticed the box was not checked that said letter from Dane County stating they reviewed the conditions of the site and no other septic conformity. Is that just an oversight on their submittal, or did they not confer with Dane County?
What page are you specifically referring to?
It's
2 of 15,
Yep.
page 17 of the
Yeah, holding
packet.
tank permit. I just didn't know if that was an oversight or did they not confer with Dane County?
I don't think they checked it because there is a Dane County letter included in it, which is page 25 or page 10 of 15. And it was from the Public Health, Madison and Dane County.
It was an oversight. Okay. And we don't have sanitary sewer in here. And there's a lot of development going on there. If at some point in time there is, are they required to hook up to it?
Oh, yeah.
Currently it's outside our service area for sewer and our sewer basins. The Siene Interceptor Basin is adjacent to these parcels, but these parcels are not included in there.
Any other questions on this? Seeing none, we'll call the vote. All in favor of resolution R11124 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next, we have Resolution R 10324, approving engineering services for Wayland Road paved shoulders. We have a motion to approve.
I move approval of Resolution R 10324.
Moved by Alder Jetser. Do you have a
Second.
second? Second by Dave Wilborn. This was in part of our ARPA capital improvement plan that passed last fall. Tim, I'll let you go through the details on it.
So Wayland Road is a primary bicycle route as designated in the 2017 Bicycle and Pedestrian Plan. Wayland Road from Fish Hatchery Road to Fish Rona Road currently has partially paved shoulders, normally used by bicyclists, while the rest of the road segments have no shoulders, forcing bicyclists to use the vehicle travel lane. Public Works Department prepared a request for qualifications for general engineering services, which was advertised by legal notice in the Wisconsin State Journal on January 22nd, 2024, and January 29th, 2024, as well as posted on questcdn.com. On February 5th, 2024, the city received 10 proposals for these services. Through a quality-based selection process, Rupert Milkie was determined to be the most qualified consultant to perform the design of the paved shoulders on Wayland Road. This project is included in the capital improvement plan, CIP number 3511, and there are funds available in the 2024 budget. So we're looking for approval of the agreement for engineering services for the Wayland Road paved shoulder project with Rupert and Milkie Incorporated for $45,768 plus a 10% contingency of $4,576.80 for a total of $50,344.80, subject to technical corrections by the city attorney and city engineer.
Questions for Tim?
Is the selection that was picked, was it based on qualifications by low bid or?
No, it was a quality-based selection process.
Okay.
You surprised by the number of people responding to the bid, the proposal? It seemed like we're struggling to get one a lot.
So this was for our general engineering services.
Oh, okay.
So we picked them based off quality, and then as projects come up, you know, if it's a sidewalk project, we'll pick one of those consultants that has the experience in sidewalks to complete the project. So, you know, Rupert Milkie was selected based on a couple of, you know, I guess qualities. One being Corey Horton works for him and was the public works director for the city of Fitchburg, so he's very familiar with this project. Also, they have their project manager worked on our Lacey Road reconstruction project, very familiar with our specifications. Those were some of the reasons on why they were selected.
Thank you. Thank you for those additional details. Questions? Bill?
Yeah, so what's the timeline for the project overall? Is this expected to be like construction completed within the 2024 budget year?
Yes, currently the schedule has us anticipating completing this project prior to winter this year.
Will, as part of the design, will they do any right-of-way plats if needed? I'm just trying to think, that area is pretty hilly and going out 4 feet, so you might be chasing that inslope out a ways.
Yeah, so the survey's been completed, and internally we've looked at it and we feel comfortable that with the right-of-way out there and the grading necessary, there isn't any property acquisitions required for this.
So their contract says this agreement is not terminated until March 31st of 2025, but you're still planning to build it in 2024?
Correct.
Any other questions? Seeing none, we'll call the vote. All in favor of Resolution R 10324, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. Next, 5 Echo, Resolution R-10124, authorizing acceptance of 2024 street maintenance bid. We have a motion to approve.
Motion to approve R-10124.
Okay. Moved by Don, do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Bill. This is the big one. I'll let you run through it, Tim. I've read it, but.
Sure, the city must perform maintenance activities on a number of streets every year to keep up with usage wear, and these streets meet the age, usage, and condition criteria for chip sealing and crack sealing. Public Works Department has prepared construction plans and specifications and obtained competitive bids. Project was advertised by legal notice in the Wisconsin State Journal on April 17th, 2024 and April 24th, 2024, and posted on questcdn.com. On May 8th, 2024, 3 sealed bids were received and publicly opened with the results listed on the attached bid tab. Thunder Road LLC's low bid of $1,070,899.91 was found to be in compliance with the bid specifications. The proper street surface maintenance activities will prolong the lifespan of roads, reducing the annual street resurfacing costs. We're looking for approval to award the 2024 surface maintenance project to Thunder Road LLC in the amount of $1,177,989.91. This includes a 10% contingency of $107,090. And with this resolution, there's also a budget amendment attached to it. We're looking to amend the street resurfacing budget to transfer $319,660 of funds to the road maintenance budget for this project.
So we want to transfer 377 to the road maintenance. Isn't this the road maintenance account already?
It is. So we're transferring it from the street resurfacing budget,
Oh, okay, all right.
which is like our milling and
Yeah,
pulverizing project, to this project, which is our road maintenance project. So one's a capital improvement project, which is our street resurfacing. Our maintenance, road maintenance, is in our operating budget.
Did we have less resurfacing planned? Did we have this money available?
We do have some additional funds available because we've been utilizing ARPA funding
Okay.
for our street resurfacing in 2023, and then also we have an additional $500,000 this year in ARPA funding to be utilized for resurfacing.
So do we need to recognize the amendment on here that we have the resolution for us? I believe we need to amend the resolution for what you're saying to transfer the funds?
No, the amendments included in the resolution.
Okay, all right. When's their deadline for completing the work?
I believe the deadline, we're looking to have it done late summer, early fall.
Has the city worked with Thunder Road LLC previously?
Thunder Road, we have not. So we followed up with their references, and they received good references from the cities that we called. We called similar sized cities that they had listed as references.
Is this an unusually large amount of streets to maintain? I mean, $1 million seems pretty high, given that the resurfacing budget this year was 2.5.
Yeah, this is several years. I'm not sure the last year that the city resurfaced, or not resurfaced, maintained with the chip seal project. It's been a couple years, so a couple years are combined to catch up. So that money was previously carried over. Typically, we wouldn't do this on an annual basis.
Tim, I assume you set the priority for them, right? I mean, if they overrun on crack seal, you cut them off and say, make sure you get the pavement marking and the chip seal done, or?
Yeah, we'll monitor it obviously as they progress through the project. So if we see an overage happening, we'll kind of analyze it and see, why it's happening, and that we also have a contingency in here of 10% to kind of cover overages if it does happen.
Well, keep us posted. We're always, I don't want to say nervous, but we recognize the new vendors can bring good
Yes.
value to the city, but there's a downside. So keep us posted. We anticipate they'll perform well and be someone we can use in the future. And Dave, Kim, anything?
I just have a minor question. On page 76 for a thing where you list the vendor, is the vendor new? It says no, and a new W-9 is not required. But you said this is the first time that we've used them, so should those be yes? Page 76 of our packet.
They are new. We have not utilized them, so I'll have to check to see why a W-9, a new one, was not required in the pre-approval. So I can follow up with finance on that.
Good eyes, thank you. Anyone else have additional questions on this one? Okay.
Yeah, that's quite an extensive list of streets here. Do we know, like, how many miles of roadway are going to be touched by this project?
Let's see, is there a summary on the cover sheet? There's a table listed on 395. It's just not totaled up
Okay.
of all the crack sealing. So the lengths of each street are listed on the individual design plan sheets. I can provide you a total and a follow-up email.
Could you do that, Tim?
Yes.
Like just before council, that question will be asked, and they just like to keep them up to date. We're making quite often we hear from residents, oh, you're not doing anything. Our city's falling apart. And I take umbrage with that.
Well, and I'm sure we'll hear from people who are not appreciative of all the dust and little rocks flying up and sticking to their car from the chip
I
sealing.
suspect you are right, Bill. Okay. Any other questions?
Tim, with being a new contractor, do you have someone assigned to kind of watch them more, and it's not a let's wait and see afterwards? Because I'm in the same boat of what some of the folks are. You put too much chip seal down or chips down, then it's just flying all over and busting windshields. Where if you catch them while they're putting it down, you can say you're going too heavy. Same with crack seal. Sometimes they can go pretty wild on that and start writing their names and stuff. And so
Yeah, so daily we'll have an inspector out there monitoring their work, whether it's the crack sealing, the chip sealing, or the striping. So every day we'll be out there monitoring it.
Anything else?
Yeah, one more.
Go ahead, Bill.
I see on page 81 of the packet, they're removing 89,000 linear feet of 4-inch paint, and they're going to repaint 111,000 feet. Is that are there new areas being marked, or is this just some of the paint was so old it was already scraped off and they don't need to remove it?
On page 81?
81 of 440, yeah, page 10 of 345 for this section. About 2/3 of the way down, after the big long list of streets.
And the question, the paint removal was
Yeah.
greater?
Well, no, they're removing 89,000 and they're going to put back 111,000. So there's, an extra 20,000 plus feet of 4-inch paint that's going to be laid down. And I don't know whether that's new areas being striped or what that is.
Yeah, and I'd have to ask Zach on the specifics of that, on why there is that additional. So I can include that in the follow-up email.
Appreciate it. Anything else on this one? I appreciate the good questions. This is it's a big expenditure necessary, and I appreciate the good questions asked on this item. All right. If there's nothing else, then I'll get my screen back where I want it. I'll call the vote. All in favor of Resolution R-101-24 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the motion carries. Next, I'd like to amend the agenda to move 5G before 5F. That motion to amend the agenda, can we have someone second that?
I'll second it.
Second, okay. Any discussion? Jim and I discussed, it made more sense. Okay, then all in favor of modifying the agenda signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are amended. Next, we have Resolution R-9024, accepting an intergovernmental agreement between the City of Fitchburg and the Town of Verona for cost share of design services for Goose Lake Fitch-Verona Road stormwater improvements. We have a motion to approve.
I'll move approval of Resolution R-9024.
Moved by Alder Jetser. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
I'll give that Dave. Second by Dave Wilborn. Would you like to run us through, or how do you want to handle it, Tim?
Yeah, I can give you just a quick summary of what this is.
Thank you for coming.
Yeah, absolutely. So as we'll see in the next agenda item, the city is looking to contract with a consultant to kind of go through the next stage of really finalizing a design for to alleviate some of the flooding issues that occur fairly frequently at Fitch-Verona Road. Of course, this impacts the town of Verona in addition to the city of Fitchburg. So when we were looking at how this funding split would look, we basically just looked at the drainage area. So, what's this watershed area that's contributing to the issue? And we found that, 75% of it was in the city of Fitchburg and 25% of it was in the town of Verona. So that's what we based the funding split that you'll see in the IGA in front of you.
Questions?
Do we expect that the town of Verona is going to be okay with that ratio, 75-25?
Yeah, so they have signed the IGA, and we do have their signature on it.
So is this, I might be confused on the projects, is this the outlet oversizing or right sizing?
Yeah, yep, this is the stormwater improvements to the Fitch-Verona Road, Goose Lake area, correct?
Jim, I'm sorry, it's not your city, but there's all kinds of construction going right at that same place looks like the town of Verona or city of Verona might extended water and sewer. It's dug up, basically kind of right where where we'd be increasing the outlet size on the lake. And are you familiar with that project at all?
Well, I know MMSD has a project out there. They've got a new sanitary sewer.
Oh, it's MMSD, not the city of
Yeah,
Verona.
so
Okay.
their project is kind of going right in that area, as you mentioned, by the existing outlets.
Okay.
So I think that might be what what you're referring to.
That's what I'm seeing. Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Is that going to be problematic to us? Are they going to be
No.
affecting
No.
where we need to disperse water? Okay.
I think they're mostly done, or it looks like they're,
No, I meant we got to approve the design one yet,
Oh.
but if Madison Metropolitan is taking the right of way and using it for their piping, have we just eliminated options for us?
am I correct? I believe the outlet flow or whatever that, we're not changing that. We're sizing making it larger so we can get a larger volume flowing out of the lake, when the water gets high, to bring it down faster.
That will
Where,
be
where it's going is not changing, or that,
That will be a piece of the project, reconfiguring the outlet.
or it will be, okay.
Yep, but MMSD's project won't impact what we desire to do.
Thank you for raising that question, Don. Anyone else on this? Go ahead, Bill.
Can you give us just a high-level overview of what's happening here? So Goose Lake fills up, the water comes out, and where is it destined to go?
Yeah, so I guess I'll just take one step back. A few years ago, the city contracted with a consultant to do a watershed study for this area, really aimed at trying to pinpoint what's causing this flooding at Fitchburg Road, and then look at a few different alternatives to try to alleviate that issue. So they constructed a big watershed model. Ultimately, any water that ends up in Goose Lake will eventually make its way to Badger Mill Creek. So just to the west of Goose Lake, there's it's Dane County land. It's a kind of
Cascade.
constructed wetland. So when they did a highway project for 18151 decades ago, they had to do some wetland mitigation, so they completed that in the area west of Goose Lake. That's actually at that time is when they installed the current culverts that provide the outlet for Goose Lake. So yeah, eventually, if water does get high enough to go through those existing outlets, it makes its way into the Dane County wetlands. And it can eventually work its way into Badger Mill Creek.
Is that what that work was being done on PB this last year? Where they were going under PB and widening that drain coming out of there, where they got there's some gardens set up, but there was that area where they dug underneath, opened the road too, for, looked to be like it was some drainage area, so.
I'm not familiar with that work, sorry.
I think that might be the MMSD project. I think
It could have been. It did go all the way to Verona. It could have, that would actually be a good guess, but no, it wasn't. It wasn't related to this project.
Just ballpark, say, what percentage increase are we thinking about here to mitigate it? Has that been calculated yet? Say the hole is 90 inches across. Are we going to one that's 120? I'm just interested
as far as
in
the
what the
outlet
capacity improvement for the outflow is.
Yeah, so
right,
I guess the original kind of recommendation was there were a few different options. So right now it's twin 18-inch culverts.
Okay.
They looked at a few different things ranging from twin 48-inch culverts all the way up to, I think, 2 larger box culverts. And then also changing the elevation, the invert elevation of the outlet, dropping that a little bit will be important. Just the water doesn't have to stack up so high before it can be conveyed to the west. But we were going to be looking at kind of a little bit of a different approach than what we were originally. So rather than just kind of having one, larger culvert at a lower elevation to take both the low and high flows, we'd like to kind of have a configuration where there's, a smaller orifice or a smaller outlet to kind of handle the low flows, and also provide some kind of base flow to Badger Mill Creek, and just hopefully keep the lake levels more consistent. And that would also help with, one of the concerns was, you're going to be letting a lot more additional flow, into that area in big rain events than there would be in existing conditions. And there were some concerns raised about what is that going to do downstream. So with this, kind of rethought configuration, we would be able to kind of manage some of those higher flows to not be, hopefully as impactful to downstream as they would have been if it was just going to be, a huge box culvert letting water rush through.
Thank you for that explanation. I appreciate it. Anyone else? This has been a problem, that road being impassable for a long time. And so hopefully we put an end to that, but can't guarantee every situation will be taken care of. We know that.
Yeah, so I thought I had heard previous discussion that the outlook for, the flooding on Fitchburg Road, it was not as desired originally. Rather than getting flooded every X years, it might get flooded every 1/3 X years or something like that. How often do we expect Fitchburg Road to be flooded? How often does it happen now, and how often do we expect it to happen after the remediation?
Yeah. So right now it's happened sporadically. I think I'm actually not sure the last year that it's flooded, but it didn't. I think 2008, 2011. I think as residents of Fitchburg, you've probably seen it and are pretty aware of it. But it happens with some frequency every few years. It seems to be occurring more often than it has in the past, just based on the documentation that I've seen. It's kind of an interesting issue. It's not really a flash flooding issue. It kind of has to do with the total amount of volume of water that's getting into Goose Lake. So, like last year when it was really dry, you could have had a huge rain event and it probably would have been fine. But, in past years when it just, it was, like 3 years in a row with some of the highest rainfall in Wisconsin. It's going to be those kind of long duration, you've got a lot of rain over a lot of time, building up that volume, building up the water level in Goose Lake that is really kind of causing these flooding issues. So when we looked at, when the first consultant originally did a study, they were looking at trying to prevent flooding up to like a 50-year event. So that's like, 4.8 inches of rain in 24 hours. But it's hard to look at it at an event basis because it's not just kind of based off of a single event. It's kind of long-term rain. But yeah, the hope that it would be, significantly reduced, the amount of time or the frequency that it floods, and then also the duration that it floods for. That's kind of the other big piece. Right now when it floods, it sits there for days or weeks, whereas maybe it would still flood, but it would be gone in the course of hours. So that's really kind of the goal. We'll have a lot more kind of hard numbers to provide as we start looking at how we're going to configure the outlet structure and send water to the west. But yeah, we're pretty hopeful that we'll be able to achieve some pretty substantial reductions in flooding.
Any other questions?
Couple. One, the previous study, did it identify if the watershed area for Goose Lake increased with all the growth and development? Or we just lost permeable landscape and now it's just getting there faster?
Yeah, so we didn't look back historically, but I'm sure if you did, you would see a pretty big difference in what the landscape looks like today than it did even 10 years ago, just with more development. I don't know if the watershed drainage boundaries have changed historically, if there's additional places that used to not drain to this watershed that now do. That wasn't really something that was part of the last scope. It was kind of more focused on what's here now and, how are we going to manage it for what's here now and also have, a resilient infrastructure for, what we can expect to occur in the future as far as development goes.
Okay.
That's an interesting question.
Resident, we're doing cost share. It's just between us and Verona. We're taking the brunt of developers' activity then. In this particular case, it sounds like. The other one, well, maybe I should hold that question for the design phase of it. What are we designing this for? Hopefully not a 50-year storm. Hopefully we're designing the storm sewer for something a lot bigger than that.
Well, and like I said, so because this isn't an issue that occurs from, typically as a stormwater engineer, we look at like a, 24-hour events or back-to-back events or shorter duration events which cause flooding. But this issue occurs when there's been, extended periods of above normal rainfall that cause Goose Lake to fill up. So the project is basically proposed to help keep Goose Lake at a more stable level. We'll try to get it, design the infrastructure to withstand as much rain as possible. But there are still occasions in the future where it's hard to say how much rain you could get, and flooding is never really out of the question.
Anyone else have anything? Okay. We'll call the vote. All in favor of resolution R9024 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the motion carries. Next, we have agenda item 5, Foxtrot, resolution R9124, approving agreement for engineering services through Kurt Melke Incorporated for Goose Lake, Fitchburg Road stormwater improvements. Do we have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve R9124.
Moved by Don. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Bill. Have much more to say here, or any questions? I think we.
I did have one, I don't know what page it was on, but it was part of the stipulations of what's not covered, and I don't have it in front of me, but it said something about the environmental was not part of this aspect. So I'm kind of concerned that are they not going to negotiate with DNR or figure out if we're NEPA and WEPA compliant?
Yeah, so part of their scope, they'll be doing wetland delineation surveys. So they do have assured delineators on staff that will be carrying out delineations to identify wetland areas. The plan is to use the DNR's hydrologic restoration permit. This is a new permit that they have. So we will be, part of their scope is to complete all waterway and wetland permits for DNR. And then that will also include the Army Corps as part of the kind of same review process.
Anyone else have any questions on this one?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Bill.
So I see we're redirecting some funds from the Curry Court project. What's going to become of that?
Yeah, so I guess just a little background on Curry Court. This was another study that was completed by a consultant a few years ago. They provided some different options, based on their modeling and what they were seeing. The recommendations that they provided were, very expensive, but didn't really provide much of a benefit to people that live there. So, you know, it wasn't, the cost benefit wasn't really there to kind of move forward with those projects. There were also some other kind of environmental concerns that I had with one of the recommendations, but I believe we've identified something that should improve some of the flash flooding issues that they've seen down there. So there is an existing stormwater easement that was recorded with the Curry Court plat back in the whenever 60s, 50s, long time ago. And actually through speaking with a resident, it kind of became apparent that there was some grading that occurred within the stormwater easement that is blocking some water. So there is intended to basically be from the end of the court, gradual slope straight to the culvert under the railroad tracks. But the property at the end of the court there had done some grading. You know, there's a culvert out there now that directs water to the railroad tracks, but that culvert is extremely undersized. It's not really going to be able to keep up with intense rainfall events. So we're working with that property owner to either reestablish a flow path through the existing easement or potentially a new location. You know, there's not really one right way to do it. It just needs a little grading out there. So and that, you know, isn't really an expensive thing to complete. So that's kind of what we're looking to do with that project.
Any questions?
Maybe I'm jumping into design too much. I mean, the roadway itself has very little freeboard. And if the objective, like you mentioned, is to keep Goose Lake at a constant level, you're probably not doing a storm sewer drainage. You're doing a series of boxes or culverts or something to have it act as a weir to keep it a constant flow. Yeah. Does this firm have structural design capabilities to do that?
There shouldn't be any kind of structural components needed. We believe it can all flow via gravity to get to where it needs to go. I don't foresee any need for a large kind of box structure or any kind of infrastructure of that nature.
Anyone else have anything?
But I guess I just will add both, well, AECom does, they're a very large engineering firm. If there were some need to get a structural engineer on board, we would be able to work with these firms to do so. But I don't anticipate that.
And everything, we'll call the vote. All in favor of resolution R9124, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the motion carries. Announcements. Our next Board of Public Works is Monday, June 17th at 5:30. Please let me know if you can't make it. And at this time, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion adjourned.
Moved by Don. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Bill. All in favor of adjournment, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned.